words that I speak and the ways they are received by each of our hearts and minds. Help us to continue to draw nearer to you and to grow into the people and the church you have dreamed us to be. Amen. So, Christmas. 3 days away? Everybody's sitting on pins and needles now, waiting for that moment. I have a daughter who does not celebrate Christmas. She celebrates solstice, which was yesterday. And there are actually a lot of different celebrations this time of year. Kind of a reason for that in the northern hemisphere. The farther north you get, the less light you have. And this time of year, it's kind of a space for thinking about the light coming back and hope coming back and trees and flowers and greenery. And for many of us who have seasonal affective disorder, this is a time when we may not be feeling all that great. So some of us get down a little bit. You may or may not know that I struggle every once in a while with depression, and one of the things that I do when I'm really down sometimes is I will immerse myself in a movie. And the great thing about movies is it's another freaking world, right? It's a whole different place, and you don't have to stay in it, which is awesome, okay? And one of my personal favorite movies, because I'm a religious geek, it is a little gruesome, it's a little crude, but it's called Dogma by Kevin Smith.
Yes.
Now, the thing I love about Dogma is it takes all of our Christian ideas, specifically Catholic in this case, but I think it's because it's the easiest one to kind of grab onto because it's international and very well represented. But it takes all of our Christian ideas and say, what happens if we take these to the logical or maybe illogical conclusion? And it's kind of fun to think about how what we believe affects how we see the world. There's something special about me and Kevin Smith and Dogma, and it's this. If you write anything, and we have some people who write, you create another world when you write. These characters don't exist in this world. These places don't exist. This time doesn't exist. So you actually are kind of like the creator in this space. And it's true for books, and it's true for movies, but those of us who've acted know that it's not just the author who's in charge, because as there's a director, there's actors, and everybody has their own interpretation. And the thing is, none of the actors, not one of the actors is going to get the author's vision exactly right. That's why you never see two plays done the same. If a movie's redone, it's not exactly the same, because we put our own spin on it. You know, we affect the story. We have an influence. So Kevin Smith is one of these guys, and he writes movies, and he's got these actors, and he's got these people who are trying to buy into his vision and to do the best that they can. But in Kevin Smith's movies, there's one person who really knows what the author wanted, and it's Kevin Smith. Because Kevin Smith enters into his own movies in the character of Silent Bob. Now, the great thing about Silent Bob is the essence of Kevin Smith. He may not be the exact person, and actually something happens to Silent Bob doesn't really happen to Kevin Smith, but he is the one who most carries Kevin Smith's vision for the film. Even though he's not usually at least in Dogma, he's not really the main character. But there's one other aspect, especially in Dogma, that really, really matters to me. Now, those of you who are actors, you know when you're playing a character, you have to kind of really get into that character. You have to feel who that person is. You can't be you there. You have to be the character. You have to be that person. You have to be the spirit of that entity, that spirit of that person in that world. And so Kevin Smith, when he enters his own world, his own creation, he has to experience things like caring for people and being afraid of people. And sometimes he has to experience, as a Dogma, death. Now, in this scene, Silent Bob is carrying the lifeless body of Bethany Sloan. Somebody that he cares about, possibly even loves, who tried to do a good thing and died in the process. Now, Kevin Smith wrote this stuff, right? So knows how this is coming out. Kevin Smith knew this was coming, but Silent Bob had no idea that this was going to happen. And Silent Bob is grieving this death. And so in this movie, Kevin Smith, through playing Silent Bob, gets to feel that loss, gets to feel that pain. And why am I talking about this on Christmas? Well, over the years, I've had many different ideas about Jesus. I grew up in an evangelical free church where we were taught the very literal divinity of Jesus as God's only Son. In my young adulthood, I was in the Bible students where we heard that Jesus was really Michael the Archangel and the only creation of God, and that Michael the Archangel / Jesus / Christ created everything else. And I've read countless numbers of books in and out of seminary about all kinds of ways to understand Jesus as a prophet, as a great man, as a composite of multiple people, as a mythologized person. All of these different ideas. Is he divine? Is he not? Does he become divine? What is it about Jesus? And I keep changing what I believe. And it's okay, because that's growth. But right now, for me, the way that I understand Jesus is that in Jesus, God enters the story that God wrote. In Jesus, we have God's best expression of what God desires for us. In Jesus, God experiences what it's like to be born. In Jesus, God experiences what it's like to be a helpless infant. In Jesus, God experiences what it's like to be left alone at the temple by your parents for 3 days. In Jesus, God experiences what it's like to be baptized, to spend time in the wilderness alone and hungry and thirsty and tempted. In Jesus, God experiences what it's like to have mom tell you to do something when you're not ready. In Jesus, God experiences what it's like to heal and to feed and to teach and to preach. In Jesus, God knows what it's like to have your feet washed and to wash somebody else's feet. And in Jesus, God knows what it's like to lose a friend and to weep for him. In Jesus, God knows what it's like to be betrayed. To have the person that you said you're going to build your church on deny you. To have people, to have a person that they call the twin, not even believe that you were resurrected. To have torture and to have death. In Jesus, God knows what it's like to be human. And in those times when I'm not feeling all that great, and all of my ideas about why God permits evil just are not cutting it, sometimes this understanding of God, for me, brings me comfort. Because even if I can't understand why God permits suffering, why God permits evil, why things can be so hard for us, I know that God did not exclude God's self from suffering what we do. And it means a lot to me. Now, as we heard this morning, you do not have to believe this, because I believe this. And actually, the real reason that I'm telling you this is I want us all this week to really take responsibility for how we understand Jesus. And I want us actually to take 2 weeks. It's going to be 2 weeks before we're back together again. And I want to take that time to pray and to meditate and to read. Maybe we're going to read the Bible. Maybe we're going to read one of those books in our library. Maybe we'll read some stuff online. Maybe we'll talk with some friends. But to really, really think about who Jesus is for us. And it's okay if it's different from what you believed when you were growing up. It's okay if it's what you believed a week ago, or if it's not. It's okay if 2 weeks from now you change your mind again. But the point is to take some time and to see who Jesus is for us.